Hey, everybody, and welcome back once again to The Non-Prophets. This show is brought to you by the Atheist Community of Austin, Texas. I'm your host, Jeff D. My guests today are Arlo Pignotti. Arlo.
Hey, how's it going?
Jeff Jones.
Howdy.
And Vic Farrow.
Hello.
Our producer, Russell Glasser.
Hi.
Hey, Russell. Today's opening music was Elvis's Rolls Royce by Was Not Was. You know, in a world where we have insane UFO cultists claiming to have achieved human cloning, what's wrong with the idea of flying Elvis's ghost around in the sky in his car? Yeah. Sure, what the hell, why not? That's the mood I'm in today. We're live December 28, 2002. The Atheist Community of Austin is a non-profit educational organization promoting positive atheism and the separation of church and state. We have weekly meetings Sunday mornings at the Hot Jumbo Bagel Shop at 307 West 5th Street here in Austin, Texas at 10:30 a.m. in the morning, except for the first Sunday of each month when we have our lecture series at 11 a.m. in the Longhorn Room of Furs Cafeteria at North Cross Mall. The next lecture will be on January 5, and the speaker is going to be Thomas Van Orden. He is the local Austin man who unsuccessfully sued to have the Ten Commandments monument removed from the lawn of the state Capitol building. ACA board meetings are at 10 a.m. right before the regular meeting on the second Sunday of every month. If you shop at the Randall's Food Store chain, you can give them our nonprofit organization number 5158, and 1% of your purchase will be automatically donated to the Atheist Community of Austin. The Godless Gamers meet Monday nights at 7 p.m. here at Glasser Studios. ACA Happy Hour takes place at Antonio's near Highway 35 and 183, Thursday nights at 7:30. Again, this is all in Austin, Texas. If you get there and don't see anybody else around, hang out because people trickle in as the night goes on. For more information, call our voicemail at area code 512-371-2911 or visit the ACA website at www.atheist-community.org. Hey, you know, Jeff, this Godless Gamers mention reminds me, are you running Deadlands? Because you skipped last week.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be you last week.
Yeah, that's fine. If you want to run yours, that's fine. If not, I'll do it.
You need to get caught up.
Okay, no problem.
It's you.
Then it'll be me.
Okay. So, also, I want to remind everyone who listens to our show that if you listen live on Saturdays from 2 to 3:30 Central Time, you can log into the chat room at www.atheistnetwork.com. Click the chat link, and you'll find yourself in a room with other listeners to the show where you can discuss amongst yourselves while we do our fine program here. Let's see, what else? Let's do a news thing. Vic,
well,
what's up with the Raelians?
Well, speaking of people whose brains are floating out in orbit,
Oh boy.
A sect that believes that space travelers created the human race by cloning said Friday that it has produced the first human clone, a healthy 7-pound baby girl. It says was born Thursday, but the group's chief scientist gave few details and offered no proof of the claim.
Typical. And you know what's amazing to me about this, and what has got me vomiting all over myself all week long? Turn on CNN. They're interviewing this lunatic.
It's all over the news.
Why on earth is anybody taking them seriously? They have offered zero evidence, and they are an obvious fringe cult of wackos.
Yeah, and
why the hell is this news?
Well,
you know, Christianity has entire networks devoted to them.
Yeah, but at least they've had 2,000 years to build up, right? The Raelians is like what?
Less than 30 years. They were 1973.
It's unconscionable. I know news is all about, controversy and wackiness these days.
Right.
Still,
I think it's the sensitivity of the issue that's driving this. I think that anything to do with human cloning, especially. I mean, cloning is big news in general, but human cloning especially is a momentous occasion in human history.
It would be if there was any evidence that it actually happened.
But I think
it didn't happen.
Yeah. Well, the damage here could be to actual useful cloning research that could lead to stem cell production. And if this, whether it's a hoax or not, and I'm convinced it's a hoax, whether it's a hoax or not, will spark up the debate, particularly in the United States and in Canada, where there are bills present to ban all human cloning no matter what.
It's a hoax. I mean, let's not forget that these are the same people who in the same week wrote the ACA, our group, a letter saying, hey, let's exchange links because we don't believe in any gods either. We just believe in space aliens. And at the same time, they sent out a press release saying, yeah, we're all in favor of teaching intelligent design in schools because we don't think human beings evolved. We think that they were created by space aliens.
Yeah.
They have no shame. They will do whatever the hell they think they need to do to, dig their claws in a little deeper.
They should be natural allies with the ID people. They really should.
Yeah.
I mean, but the ID people want nothing to do with them.
No.
Because
the intelligent design people will not want to be allies with these guys because here they are working hard to discredit evolution. And when they do that, if they should ever manage to do that, then the Raelians would step in and say, see, there's still no God, there's aliens.
That's exactly right, because the intelligent design people claim that they'll claim that they are not pushing creationism or they're not pushing one particular brand of religion.
They just want to empty everybody's heads, and then there's room for God.
Well, they're digging their own hole because they're trying as hard as they can not to say anything about God.
No.
So that leaves it wide open for the Raelians.
Right.
That's right.
The web strategy, Philip Johnson's web strategy, except the Raelians stepping in there to fill the gap. But Vic is exactly right. I mean, I am pro-cloning. Sure,
so
what the hell? Sign me up. I'm ready. Clone me.
Well,
but
my support for cloning is different because the benefits of cloning, not that we can start cloning each other and have copies of ourselves, but the benefits to medical research and cloning is that stem cells are the thing that may be the cure for cancer or the cure for Alzheimer's.
Therapeutic cloning is going to help the people already here.
Absolutely.
Reproductive cloning is just going to bring more Raelians into
Of course, I realize those are the practical applications of it. But I think cloning myself and having a younger me run around at the same time would be extremely cool.
Well,
And
it should be your right to.
I've chosen not to have any kids the normal way, and so I probably couldn't afford to do that. But still, the idea is extremely cool. I'm in favor of it. I think every objection that I've heard to cloning is based on trumped up, irrational fears. Generally religiously motivated of, the kid won't have any soul. Well, that's nonsense. He never proved there was a soul in the first place. The kid will be treated weirdly. Yeah? By who? By you assholes who have decided that he won't have a soul.
The same argument they use against homosexuals, one of the problems with homosexuals is because of their lifestyle, and it's a lifestyle they're forced into by the lunatics who constantly tell them that they're worthless.
Yeah, but here we have the Raelians, right?
No.
Claiming to have done this. It's going to, I wouldn't be surprised if we had a boy who cried wolf kind of thing going on in a few years, where we got scientists legitimately achieving human cloning, and then people won't believe them because they'll be like,
I noticed in the news with all these fake claims.
I don't think it's real either. I think it's a hoax as well, but I hope it's not. I hope they have done it because I hope it's going to happen eventually someday anyway, and I want this issue talked about. And
you can only do the
way it's going to get talk about. Right?
Well,
you can only clone for the first time once in history.
If even those of us who are in favor of it, though, are sickened by the involvement of the Raelians in it.
Yeah.
I mean, think of what people who are against it all along are going.
Yeah.
Right? They're going, see? Only crazy, lunatic, mad scientists would do such a thing.
Well, the people who are actually involved in legitimate cloning technique are saying this is not possible. We're not ready yet. I mean, it's in theory you can clone a human, but the attempts of cloning that have been done so far have resulted in hundreds and hundreds of failures just to get one embryo to work. And that embryo turns out to have birth defects in every single case.
And not to mention the fact that no primate, as far as we know, no primate has been cloned yet. Which is
the primate's
a completely different complex set of issues.
Yeah.
I agree with you guys. I don't think it's happened. But unlike some, I wouldn't have no problem if it was the Raelians first, because I think that it gets it out there, and people are going, no matter who does it. If it's science, if it's quote unquote science that does it, legitimate scientists, that's who they're going to attack.
And there's the big question: the legitimate scientists, the Raelians, or this company Clonaid, has not released any information on.
Clonaid.
Sounds like a soft drink, doesn't it?
For that deep down, bud.
They're releasing no information on the scientists who are working on this, if indeed there are any. There are no information on where the money's coming from to support the research, because this is enormously expensive. And the identity of the mother and child are a closely guarded secret.
It could be completely made up. There could have been, just 3 or 4 Raelians in a room going, oh. That is how much evidence there is.
When they say, or they may have deluded themselves into thinking they actually have cloned something when it's just
not. But a genetic,
that wouldn't surprise me
but a DNA test could prove this, and they're claiming that they're going to be presenting independent verification of this. But I'll be willing to bet that when they come up with their independent verification, that it actually comes from them, and there's no independence in it whatsoever. Or some excuses are going to be made. Where is the child? Where can we take blood samples from an independent so we can do the DNA test? Well, for her protection and the child's protection, we don't want them to become freaks or anything like that. We can't reveal in it. Some excuse will be made. Why is they cannot produce evidence to support this?
Yeah. If I make comments on something to discredit them even more, remember last week in the article I read on them, last week I read about their amusement park in Canada called UFO Land. Well, I looked that up.
Yeah.
You know what it is? It's a really big barn made out of hay and has a papier-mâché UFO in it. That's it. That's the amusement park. It's not an amusement park.
Sounds like a great big fire hazard.
You think they got a papier-mâché baby somewhere?
I mean, okay, I don't know if UFO is really made out of papier-mâché, but it looks it. I saw a picture. And the barn they do say is made out of hay. It doesn't look like it's made out of hay. I guess it's space age hay technology.
The baby's name is Eve.
Didn't they learn anything from the 3 little pigs?
They got a garden made out of hay.
Well, there is
baby Eve.
There is a technique. There is a technique from building from hay bales and stucco, which makes a large brick, and you stack them together and plaster them, and it becomes a wall. There's a place here in Austin that has it's built that way.
They attempted to make it look futuristic. It's a real streamlined barn.
One barn full of papier-mâché UFO does not make a amusement park.
And remember, I was watching the Steven Spielberg series Taken. The aliens came back and took their shit.
And, of course, Spielberg would know.
Yeah, Spielberg would know this because,
What else do we need to know about what the Raelians
Well, let me give you a little history.
Have you mentioned the fact that there's a live chat room?
I have mentioned the fact that there's a live chat room.
Oh, because there's nobody in it.
Well, they
all right, people, get on the chat room.
Or it could be the holidays. You never know. Just relax.
Yeah.
Anyway, a little history.
We have lots and lots and lots and lots of people who listen to the show on the webpage.
True.
After the fact.
Yes.
So,
A little history on the Raelians. This was founded nearly 3 decades ago by a Frenchman named Claude Broilon. I don't speak French, so I may be pronouncing that wrong. Sports writer and race car driver, stood atop of a volcano and was abducted by the aliens, taken aboard their mothership with these little green aliens with long dark hair.
Why couldn't he have fallen into the volcano like Darth Vader?
My thinking is he probably was sniffing a little too much sulfur.
Yeah.
They told him he needed to call himself Rael and start this new cult, and now they have, and that aliens created humans about 25,000 years ago. Now, since Homo sapiens have been around a little over 100,000 years, I'm wondering how they reconcile that.
Mm-hmm.
But
this reminds me of
they now have about 55,000 members, and they're based in Canada, or at least one of their bases is in Canada.
Yeah,
the French actually consider them a dangerous cult.
Do they?
Yes.
Yeah.
They gotta.
The French have very restrictive religious laws. I mean, it's against the law to defame legitimate religions in France. I mean, they have very restrictive religious laws. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
Rael's movement is said to have started December 13th in 1973.
Okay. December 13th, huh?
Yeah. The red flashing lights of the spaceship opened up a hatch to reveal a little green alien with longish dark hair. That's just.
Well, that paper-mache replica of the UFO looked awfully 70s. I mean, it's from sci-fi in that time.
Yeah. Now, here's the danger in this. Ottawa currently has a bill, C-13, which would outlaw most cloning techniques, including those many scientists consider benign and valuable for research. The United States Congress is pushing a law to ban all human cloning research, all of it.
Therapeutic.
Now it's been stalled because there are some in Congress who are seeing the benefits of some cloning for stem cell research that would disease. But with this new thing and this new right-wing Republican joke of a president we have, could backfire, and we could actually end up with laws that prevents science from doing any cloning research.
Which is especially wrong, because the same group as basically outlawed new stem cell production.
Right.
So all they can use is existing stem cell lines, which become more diluted with every generation, and yet they don't want us to be able to at least clone the ones we have. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Everybody has to write to politicians about this. I mean, this affects all of us. We're living in an age where we can extend our lives significantly using biotechnologies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
More than just a few years. I mean, we can make a breakthrough to double our lifespan. And the longer we live, the more into the future to see further technologies to live even longer yet. We might be the last generation that has to die.
Yeah. There have been more. Medical science has extended more in the last 25 years than it has in the entire history up until that point. Mm-hmm. Where's it going to be in another 25 years? Who knows? We may not be the last generation to die. We may be the first generation to live for hundreds of years. I doubt it, but we might. Yeah. But if we keep stalling medical research every chance we get because of 2,000-year-old superstitions, we're not going to get there.
Well, or that it'll move overseas, and people overseas will make enormous profits off of medical technology that won't be available to people in the United States.
Yeah.
And we would do a good job of it here in the States.
Yeah.
We'd just be allowed to do it.
We have the facilities. We have the research.
Keep the religion out of medical research.
Well, it's hard to do that when we're, the most religious
country in the Western world.
Yeah.
There is a little, one small ray of hope. Now that we've gotten rid of Trent Lott, the new leader of the Senate first is a doctor, and he was not a proponent of banning stem cell research. So there may be some hope there. This guy has a lot of power, but let's face it, the GOP is still run by the religious right, and he's got to overcome that. But small amount of hope, but I wouldn't hold my breath.
All right, was that it for the Raelians?
Yeah, I think we've given them enough airtime now.
Jeff, what do you got?
Disney World cancels Christian services, flap ensues.
Now, Disney World. Now, there's a theme park.
Yeah, that's a real amusement park.
It's just fantasy. Meant to be.
Let's see. This is CNS News staff writer.
Mickey Mouse shook my hand. That wasn't really Mickey Mouse? No. Arlo, you burst my bubble.
Don't tell the rain.
The late Walt Disney once cited church and prayer as inspirations for his professional success. Today, some conservatives believe Disney is crying from his grave because Walt Disney World in Florida has eliminated its 28-year-old tradition of offering on-site religious services to Christian guests. Isn't Disney frozen somewhere? He's not crying at all, is he? I know. I know there's evidence for that. It was just a comment. The Orlando-based Disney Resort and Theme Park began offering regular weekend church services in 1975. But corporate officials claim the 35,000-acre facility can no longer accommodate 15,000 Catholic and Protestant families who want to go to these Sunday services. This is a lie. As we get further down, when we actually hear from the Disney people, you'll see that they're lying about this.
Yeah, let's go straight there.
Okay, we'll go straight there. So there's a lot of quotes here I want to get to, but here's what the Disney spokesperson Rena Callahan says. First of all, we are an entertainment industry. We, as a company, were never putting on the religious services. They were always being done by outside groups, which had expressed to us that they could no longer accommodate the demand. It wasn't Disney that canceled the services. It was the outside groups putting on the services that canceled the services.
But when does the truth ever stop religion?
Yeah, that's exactly right. But what these people are asking, they're asking Disney to foot the bill to put on these services because they always have. And they're claiming that Disney is at fault here, and they bring up the fact that Disney supports a gay day, and that Walt Disney was a Christian. And one quote in here that is it's particularly telling is, "I'm sure Walt Disney is crying from his grave when he sees what the current owners are doing to his basic belief system by saying the inn is full. There's no more room for the baby Jesus," said Reverend Lou Sheldon, chairman and founder of the Traditional Values Coalition.
Yeah.
That'd be traditional values where women stay barefoot pregnant in the kitchen.
Exactly.
They even made a Disney film of Jesus of Nazareth.
Yeah.
It'd be funny, though, that Michael J. Fox would do the voice of Jesus.
But they're inherently dishonest. It just stuns me that they could say something like,
I tell you, so much of religion these days is just about manufacturing a controversy as a means of generating contributions.
Yeah, and Disney didn't used to be a target. Disney became a target when they started saying, we don't mind gay people coming to our park.
Yeah.
That's when they became a target.
Gay people have money, too.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
But now it's an easy target to whoop up controversy about, and thereby rake in the donations.
Right. And what can you say?
Religion is stupid.
Yep.
Arlo. Yeah, what hast thou?
Okay, this week in the news, I would hardly call this newsworthy, but it's related to something I like, holy paraphernalia.
Uh-huh.
And this was on Fox and various other news stations.
Yeah, those
right
of our
now,
listeners who subscribe to the American Atheist newsletter may be familiar with Arlo's column in there on holy paraphernalia. Go ahead, Arlo.
This article's from out of Seattle. Huggy Jesus. Sean Pinkerton, broke and homeless after he was laid off last year, was struck by inspiration when he stopped into a Ballard church to get out of the rain. The result? The Huggy Jesus doll, which Pinkerton and partner Jay Craig are promoting with 5 billboards around Seattle. He is coming! ! Declare the signs, directing onlookers to www.huggyjesus.com. That's spelled Huggy with a Y. The number of hits on the website have soared since the signs went up earlier this month, from 150 to 8,747 the first week. He borrowed $100, rented a sewing machine, and tried making the doll himself. The design wasn't bad, but with no sewing expertise, the prototype was uninspiring. I was horrible at it, he said. The first doll looked kind of funky.
What part of the country is this we're talking about?
No, we're talking about Seattle.
Seattle. That's not very religious up there.
No, it's highest.
It's the least religious part of the United States.
Yeah.
But he's making money now. I mean, on the news they were saying he's
Maybe people are buying him a gag.
Let's face it, even the least religious part of the United States is still pretty religious.
And on television they were saying Jesus himself told him to do this. But I looked up the story of Huggy Jesus on their website, and I just got a couple of quotes here of the story behind this, or his testimony. It's beautiful. The door was opened, and he entered the church. He dropped down to his knees and begged the Lord to help him. As he was praying, he looked up and saw a vision of Jesus on the altar, and Jesus seemed to be looking down to him. He seemed to beckon Sean to rise up and come in his direction. Tears were streaming down his face as he crawled onto the altar, and he gave Jesus a hug. That loving embrace inspired Sean.
Some homeless guy, any homeless guy anywhere in the United States goes into a church, crawls up onto the altar and starts hugging the Jesus thing.
He's going to get arrested.
They have there.
The cops have been called already.
At the very least, kicked out of the church. At the very least.
But that loving embrace inspired Sean to go out into the world and make a huggable doll in his image. With a little help of his friends, the whole world could receive a hug from Jesus.
No, you don't receive a hug from Jesus. You hug the Jesus.
Yeah. But,
these are not animatronic, are they?
No, I looked at.
Are they anatomically correct?
They look really cheap. This is Jesus wearing this colorful loincloth, and it has 4 eyebrows for some reason.
Is there a picture?
I don't have a picture with me, but go to huggyjesus.com.
All right, that's now
Hugggy.
Conservatives and libertarians ought to be proud because they're always shouting about these homeless people ought to need to go.
Yeah, this guy at least has initiative.
The guy went out and made some money. All right,
let's make a Huggy Satan.
That's a good idea.
Huggy Satan.
Real cuddly.
Satan's had a bad day. Give him a hug.
How about a Huggy alien?
Well, they need a
Huggy
alien.
They need a plush doll version of the Linux BSD mascot.
The little devil.
Cute little devil. Yeah.
We can make a Huggy Darwin.
No, a Huggy Benny. A Huggy Benny.
Ooh.
Benny Hinn. You you hug it, and he says is ridiculous.
Who would want to hug Benny Hinn?
Speaking of Benny Hinn, I don't actually have details on this, but I encountered a couple of web pages about the NBC Dateline expose of Benny Hinn that aired, I guess, a couple of days ago now.
Last night.
Last night. Apparently they had hidden cameras, and they got backstage, and you saw the inner workings of the whole thing. And they also interviewed ex-employees and got some sense of the money trail and how much it was and so on. Jeff, you've got a recording of it.
Yeah, I've got a DVR, and maybe we can view it sometime this week and talk about it.
I've always hated that guy.
He's despicable.
One of the most hateful Christian
Who was the televangelist that went around and had these big, huge mass?
The guy,
the one who got caught,
the famous expose.
Oh, yeah.
Tilton?
No.
He got sued 7 times for fraud, and he's still in business.
Yeah.
I see him later.
It wasn't Tilton. There was another evangelist who used to go around, claiming that. But a news, it was either 60 Minutes or some, 2020, something like that, followed him around, and their electronic communications equipment picked up the communication between.
That's Tilton.
Was that Tilton?
Just James Randi did that.
No, I think it was Tilton.
Picked up.
They picked up the communication between the control room at Tilton, where they were telling him, this woman here has this problem.
Right, because they had the prayer cards or something like that at the beginning, where you filled out and they interviewed these people, or were walking around talking to them before the show, and then get all this information and then feed it to them through an earpiece.
Yeah. And he's making on like it's direct from God.
Yeah.
Well, that guy's. He was in, when I lived in Dallas. He was up in that area. He was really big then. He had a big show. But I always kind of liked him because he's entertaining to watch. He goes into these weird little sections of tongues. Speaking in tongues.
The last time I saw him at 3 a.m. on television, he picks up a phone and he goes, I'm gonna call Satan right now. And he's just like, I don't know what he did. It looked like he dialed a number at random. He just starts rebuking Satan on the phone. I thought, is he like just dialing some random number, some poor little old lady?
Would that be the hell hotline?
He's like a satire of televangelists, but he takes himself serious. He'll tell you to put your hand on the television screen and things like that. But what's most amusing about him is he makes no qualms about what he's there for. He tells you right up front, I'm here to get money. The way you get good with God is to send me money. And there's no hiding it. He doesn't couch it in other terms. He doesn't sell, Ten Commandment steak knives. He just wants you to send him money. And if you send him money, he calls it seeding. If you seed your faith by sending him money, God will do good things for you.
Yeah.
And that's a common belief amongst believers that doing something good with your money or giving money to somebody will, God will bless you with more money.
10 times.
Something good.
10 times
more money.
Yeah.
Quick comment from the chat room that the next logical step for the Jesus people is Sucky Jesus.
Well, they do have those
Jesus taste those comments. Sorry, Jeff.
They do have those crucifixes.
I'm making a face that you cannot see out there in Radio Land.
They do make crucifix-shaped lollipops. That's a sucker.
Oh, that's kind of warped. Did anyone?
Blood?
I was going to do a kind of serious story on the evolutionary origins of religion, according to this one scientist, but I think we need to have something a little bit wackier at this point.
Wackier than lollipop shape?
Yeah.
Increase the wackiness.
Potty cops.
The
potty cop story. A Brooklyn private school has suspended 2 staffers who terrorized 8 students on Tuesday in a surprise bathroom strip search. And you wonder, why are we reading this on the Atheist Experience? Well, here's why. 2 Concord Baptist Elementary School staffers, apparently enraged over finding feces on a bathroom floor, ordered the boys to drop their pants and bend over so they could inspect them for signs of defecation.
It's not just for Catholics.
What signs would those be, I wonder?
I don't.
Dingleberries and toilet paper pieces or what?
One of the staffers was wearing a rubber glove when the search was discovered. This was this was an exercise of poor judgment in trying to address a problem that has been ongoing throughout the year, said Reverend Russell Marquis, pastor of youth and families at the Bedford-Stuyvesant School. What do you mean a problem that has been ongoing all year? This Baptist school, they have a regular problem with poop on the floor?
I guess so.
What goes on in these Baptist schools? The unidentified staffers have been suspended indefinitely and without pay while school and police officials investigate the matter. Parents were outraged over the harrowing search, which stopped only after a mother began yelling outside a classroom full of 4th and 5th graders. This is something that's done to criminals, but these are children, said Rose Greenwood.
It's not even done to criminals.
They don't...
Well, I mean, okay, well,
Maybe not for that
see if you've
reason.
taken a crap lately.
They may inspect the anal orifices of criminals when you go into prison, but not because they are trying to figure out which crook pooped on the floor.
Yeah.
These are children, said Rose Greenwood, whose 10-year-old son David is a student at Concord Baptist. What were they thinking? Well, remember, keep in mind, according to Christianity, guilt is not something that you accumulate in life as a consequence of having done bad things. Guilt is something you automatically have by virtue of being a descendant of Adam and Eve.
Yes.
So, from the Christian perspective, children are criminals.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Automatically. They are guilty of all the most horrible things that are possible automatically by virtue of being human beings.
How many times have you heard...
That's what they were thinking.
We were doing the atheist experience when a caller would say, well, just look at your average child and you can see what sinful people we are.
Look what your dog does. Your dog will defecate on the floor. Does that mean that
but I never
they have a
rounded
common
up my dog
ancestor?
and probed his butthole with a rubber glove.
Yeah, but,
But the whole point of original sin, I mean, it's in the other animals too. It's throughout the whole animal kingdom, right? So are we all related then?
I thought original sin was fornication. Apparently it's defecation.
Yeah.
Greenwood, 39.
It's defecation now.
Well, that's a pretty original sin, you gotta admit.
But they've been having a problem with
all year,
ongoing problem throughout the year. I can't even imagine what that possibly means. Greenwood, 39, said she arrived at the school at 3:30 to pick up David, a 5th grader. She waited for 15 minutes, then grew concerned about his lateness and decided to step inside. She had no idea what she was about to witness. One by one, the boys were being escorted from a classroom to a bathroom. "Mommy, get me out of here," David told his mother when she stormed into the classroom to rescue her son. "They're making us take off our underwear."
My favorite line of that whole thing.
What the hell?
But if I were a parent and I found out this was going on, I would be piping mad.
Yeah, especially
At yourself for sending them to that.
Well,
especially given the current state of religiosity and.
Wait, but I thought only Catholics did that, and they're not true Christians.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
These are...
Oh, man.
Check this out. Quote, "In a sense, they took advantage of these kids," said in a sense.
In a sense.
In the sense of
Kinda, in a
having
way.
their fingers up there with a rubber glove. Said the father of a 4th grade boy who asked not to be identified for fear his son will be singled out by teachers. Yeah, look, first of all, you don't need to get singled out of this school. Everybody takes a turn in the bathroom with the rubber glove. Second of all, this is a guy, presumably, who sent his son to this school because they're Baptists, and he wanted his son to get a special Baptist education, so he took him to the private Baptist school.
Well, now he knows what a special Baptist
And now
education is.
he's afraid his son will be singled out by the teachers if he identifies himself to the news media when he complains about what they're doing. Look, dude, take your son out of the private school.
Right.
There's an idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can guarantee you they won't get anal probed in public school.
No,
At
there
least-
was
at
a
least
story
take
of
them
the
out of that
woman,
privacy.
lifting
not
little
by
girls'
teachers.
skirts to make sure they were wearing panties.
Right,
Yeah.
underwear. Yeah,
That was
Yeah.
public school, I think. Wasn't
yeah,
that?
but that didn't involve rubber gloves.
Still
It should
though.
have.
Yeah.
School. I don't know what I meant by that.
Tasteless comment for the day. There you go.
This gets worse and worse. School administrators told students and their parents yesterday not to speak with reporters.
Of course they did.
Ooh.
Told them, didn't ask, didn't say, "Oh, this could look really bad. It's not what you think," or we realized it was a horrible mistake and we've canned the guys that did it and it'll never happen again. No, do not speak to reporters.
Thou shalt not bear witness.
The school is connected to Concord, or bare bottoms. The school is connected to Concord Baptist Church of Christ, the largest predominantly black church in the city of Brooklyn. Astonishing, isn't it?
So it reminds me the head of this school's response to this it just sounds so much like what Cardinal Law has been saying for the last year about Catholic priests. The same kind of general thing. it's something we need to take care of internally, and it's not as big a deal as everyone thinks.
Don't talk to the press. Don't talk to the authorities. Leave it all us. We'll take care of everything. Thank you very much.
And this happens all the time.
Now give us some money.
I think the whole thing with priests, pedophile priests, and molestation in the Catholic Church has just means that these stories get publicized a lot more now. But this kind of thing happens all the time. We see it all the time. And it reminds me of the thing here in Austin several months ago with the two preachers who beat a kid into the ICU with kidney failure because he cheated on a Bible test. Yeah. I think it was very innovative. But
we have a story that we should do right after that. But before we do that, let me do a little bit of more announcements. Any instances of slurs, defamation, discrimination, or anal probing against atheists or other non-believers in the U.S. media can now be reported to the National Atheist Ombuds by emailing ombuds@atheism.org. Please remember to include as many details as possible, snapshots if you can, and a news source where applicable. Sorry, guys. Incidents will be reported to participating national and local non-theist organizations who have agreed to distribute press releases regarding the reported subject matter. Now you can collect past episodes of The Non-Prophets and an audio version of our sister show, The Atheist Experience, which airs on public television, public access television, only in Austin, Texas, in a convenient CD format. Each CD includes a full month's worth of audio from both shows in QuickTime and MP3, plus extra surprises. The CDs are a mere $5 each. Contact atheist@mac.com for info. Vic? Tell us more about the testing of children on religious subjects, will you? Right, we were just talking about the kids, the kid here in Austin that got beat up by his Christian teachers for cheating on his Bible quiz.
This isn't really about.
No, this is not a punishment.
No. I know. Well, yeah.
This is the carrot part.
Yeah,
do the story.
George Kelly believes that the nation has lost its moral conscience, and he plans to do something about it, one child and $10 at a time. The 76-year-old retired flower shop owner runs a ministry out of his home that pays children $10 each to memorize and recite the Ten Commandments.
Wait a minute.
That's $1 a commandment.
All right.
Unless you're in Texas, which you get to pay 11.
Go ahead. Ministry out of his home where children go, and then he gives them $10.
Well, they don't actually go there.
Yeah. All right, good.
To qualify for the $10,
thank goodness.
That was a whole other.
To qualify for the $10, children must be 16 years or younger, live in the United States, and recite the commandments to a pastor, a rabbi, a priest, teacher, or other authorized adult witness.
Authorized?
Authorized, yes. You must be authorized by him to be an
authorized Bible dealer.
Yes.
In your area.
The witness then must sign an affidavit form that they can download from the ministry's website, TenCommandmentsProject.org.
Hey! Russell, will you print us a form that we can fill out, please?
Pledging that they heard the child's recitation. An authorized witness is not a relative, Kelly said. This would be inclined to fudge a little. Really? You'll be inclined to fudge about the Ten Commandments because the moral decline of America.
Right.
Okay.
Right. What is this about family values? I thought the family was so important. What is it now? All of a sudden, you can't be trusted to the word of your parents cannot be trusted when he's asking whether you properly recited the Ten Commandments or not.
You might lie. An 11-year-old fifth grader called the $10 payment a big incentive. She joked that a similar offer on all their other studies would make her a millionaire. Another 11-year-old said that they taught us...
Except maybe not in math.
Maybe not in math. No. $10...
Everybody got that, right?
Yeah. Two in 11th grade. Two in 11-year-old.
A little educational humor.
11-year-old, $10, $1 million. What's the difference? And another 11-year-old said they taught us a lot of stuff we had to do, like not to believe in other gods or not to murder.
So this teaches kids that moral values and principles are about making money.
Yes.
It's not a reward in itself. It's not going to make you live a better life, or else you wouldn't be needing to give in a lousy $1 for your time to memorize it.
The Kelly said,
this kid could go. I get news for this kid. He could believe in another god and murder somebody. He'd still get the $10.
Yes, he would. All he has to do is recite the Ten Commandments.
Yep.
Which version? I wonder if there's
There's the Catholic version. There's
I
the
want to know
Texas
if I can
version.
get $10 each.
Yeah, can you get $20 for reciting them both?
Plus the monument on the Capitol lawn here in Austin has 11 commandments on it. So is that worth 11?
Yeah. Maybe.
No, wait,
Can we make up more?
I
want to learn Hammurabi's code because that's like hundreds.
Ooh.
I could make a lot of money.
And it'd be something nice to learn anyway.
But, for $100, I think it would cost a little more than $100 to get me to remember all of that.
I memorized the Cat in the Hat for Ben. Does that count for anything?
I memorized Johann Gambleputty, Devon Osterstellden Schlitt Kreskren.
Dingle, dangle, dungle, dungle.
I haven't memorized anymore from Monty Python.
Can you translate that?
Oh, no. We hope
I did that for nothing in junior high.
We hope someday, says the Kellys, that it won't be the $10 that's important, but that they will have God's word in their hearts.
I got news for them.
It's the $10, people.
That's the money.
Yes.
Jeff, give us some more.
Bribery.
Okay.
Can we start steering back in the direction of serious news now?
Okay. Yes, we can.
It doesn't have to get deeply serious. What? Huh?
Penn Teller.
What about Penn Teller? Teller.
I have
do that now?
I have it.
Oh, he's got it.
Yeah.
When we get back around to victim.
Okay. Slightly more serious. Atheist appealing Boy Scouts' decision to expel him.
Uh-huh.
Eagle Scout who was expelled from the Boy Scouts of America after he refused to declare a belief in God is appealing the decision. Daryl Lambert, 19, who had earned 37 merit badges in a decade with the organization, was told in November he could no longer belong to the Boy Scouts after he revealed he was an atheist. Teaching boys to mistrust and reject non-believers makes a mockery of the true moral values of Scouts. Lambert wrote in a letter to the organization, I personally have not imposed my beliefs on other Scouts and ask only to be given the same consideration in return. The Irving, Texas-based Boy Scouts of America did not return calls seeking comment, of course. Soon after Lambert was ousted, the Chief Seattle Council said the Boy Scouts is a shared values organization, whatever the hell that means. That means
you toe the line or we kick you out organization.
Right. Lambert's appeal will be reviewed by a regional committee, which has 60 days to make a decision. If it upholds the local council, Lambert could appeal to the Boy Scouts National Office, which would have final say. As a private organization, the Boy Scout has a right to exclude people from membership. The U.S. Supreme Court confirmed the group's ban on gay leaders in 2000. No one is doubting that they have the right to exclude members. The question is whether they should exclude members or not based on non-belief.
Whoa! Hold the phone. We have a printout here of the memorization affidavit form. And I got news for you. Everybody can make $10.
Yeah.
You have to be 16 or below, though, don't you?
How will they know?
Yeah.
You mail it in.
Yeah, mail it in.
You mail it in. To receive the earned encouragement reward to $10. I don't know why it says to instead of $10. Complete this form and mail to the above address. The form must be completed in full to receive $10.
They're going to call you.
That's fine. We can work that out.
On the phone.
We can work that out.
Pass it around. What? There's like 10 million atheists.
I'm sure we can. Paul Wilson is a pastor of the
Universal
Life Church.
So am I, as a matter of fact.
Yeah. Are you?
Yeah, me too.
Woo! Print more forms. Print more forms now, and we'll put Jeff's number on it.
I've memorized most of the commandments already, anyway. So.
I never bothered.
You don't have to memorize. I will lie.
No.
I'll be happy to lie.
In front of the microphone.
To take this guy's money from him.
Only about this. Only about taking this lunatic for $10.
I don't feel bad about lying because anyone that does this, I guarantee you will know more about the Ten Commandments than those kids who spent the time to memorize them for $10 and then never really look into what they were actually saying.
Mm-hmm. Right. I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
That's okay. That was good.
Are we done?
We're done with that, except unless we want to talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's obvious what that's about. I mean, they want to be able to say 100% of our upstanding Boy Scouts who are doing so well believe in God.
Jawohl.
And under all that, they
believe in God, believe in the Boy Scout version of God.
This guy was an exemplary scout. Everyone who is in his local organization said so, and the people in his local organization who know him didn't want him kicked out. Didn't think he should be kicked out. Yeah. It's the area council that kicked him out.
How many is 37 merit badges in 10 years?
I think there would be a lot. Merit badges are hard to get for Eagle Scouts.
Are they?
Eagle Scouts hard to become.
Right.
I don't know enough about it.
I didn't get that far in it, so I don't remember.
But I know that I've known some people who are Eagle Scouts,
Apparently
and it
it's
took years.
Because they always wave that number around.
Years to get the things they need.
Covered. They had him. Remember, we were at the in Washington.
Yeah.
And that was on TV, and they showed him, and he was wearing his uniform, and it was covered.
Yeah, and he was very articulate, very well spoken, very well.
They don't want people like that.
No.
It's exactly what they should want in Boy Scouts.
Except apparently not.
This form is just the worst put together thing I've ever seen in my life. It says, I,
Trent Child's name,
have recited from memory the Ten Commandments before. Okay, I understand how it reads now. It's wacky. We need to all fill these out. I want $10. Arlo.
Yeah. Well, we got one more article here. Indiana public schools shy away from religion courses.
Good thing, too.
Perhaps wary of church-state controversies, most public schools in Indiana do not offer courses in religion, even though the laws allow it. Supporters of religion courses say failing to teach students about religion lessens their understanding of the world. We are a more diverse society, even in Indiana. The religious landscape of America has changed dramatically. We can stick our heads in the sand or think about these things consciously. I agree with that, up to that point.
Sure.
So do I.
But when you read further, you realize that actually these classes are all about one religion, Christianity.
Right.
For almost 30 years, Knowles, and that's the teacher, has taught a course at Carmel in suburban Indianapolis that covers more than one half of the Old and New Testaments. He keeps a row of Bibles on his desk so that students can choose from among the various versions. We look at... Yeah, see, that's so encompassing of world religion.
That's like if you do a Pepsi taste test and it's like, regular Pepsi,
Diet Pepsi,
Blue, Diet Pepsi.
Yeah.
Right.
Pepsi with lemon, Pepsi.
Right.
That's the problem. I see nothing wrong with a very objective course in world religion.
Sure, why not?
I would
think that
encourage
would be wonderful.
Yes. I would encourage that because I think the more people who actually put religion side by side, the more people will realize, the smart people at least, will realize, hey, these are all kind of the same.
In fact, a few weeks ago when you guys weren't here and my dad visited, we talked about the humanities class in Los Alamos, where he speaks every year as his token atheist, and he gets a share of letters every year that say, I never thought about all that stuff. Very interesting.
Neat.
Teacher adds, I tell them no amount of prayer will save them on the test. So
So your town of prayer doesn't work.
Yeah.
So, they're claiming it's not religious, it's about religion, but then when it's about one religion...
Right.
Come on. Of course, they're saying because Indianapolis is so diverse, several denominations of that religion.
So why the hell do we have religion? Where did it come from, and what is its purpose, right? Dr. David Sloan Wilson of Birmingham University in upstate New York, a renowned evolutionary biologist, who I've never heard of, proposes that religion, with all its institutional, emotional, and prescriptive trappings, ranks as a kind of mega-adaptation, a trait that evolved because it conferred advantages on those who bore it. But whereas evolutionary biologists traditionally view an adaptation as the outcome of a struggle between unevenly matched individuals, say one polar bear with a cleanly cloaking white coat and another with a slightly less effective form of camouflage, Dr. Wilson sees religion as the product of group selection at work. In his new book, Darwin's Cathedral, Evolution, Religion, and the Nature of Society, University of Chicago Press, Dr. Wilson argues that the religious impulse evolved early in hominid history because it helped make groups of humans comparatively more cohesive, more cooperative, and more fraternal, and thus able to present a formidable front against bands of less organized or less unified adversaries. By taking an evolutionary perspective on the subject, Dr. Wilson said, religion's twinned record of transcendent glories and shocking barbarities becomes comprehensible and even predictable, though not perhaps inevitable for the future. And there was a series of questions and answers. This is from the New York Times, I believe. A series of questions and answers. I'm just going to do one of them here. It says, question, give me an example of looking at the natural history of a religion. Answer. The coolest example can be seen in what the religious scholar Elaine Pagels wrote about the evolution of early Christianity. When you compare the Gospels that eventually made it into the New Testament with the many competing Gospels that were rejected, what you find is that those that made it were the ones that worked best as blueprints for various early Christian communities. The narrative differences in the four Gospels of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and the fact that Jesus is shown as being well received in one, but practically thrown off a cliff in another, were not the result of the passage of time or of memories fading. These Gospels were serving the needs of different Christian communities in different social environments. They are fossils of local adaptations, which I thought was pretty interesting.
David Sloan Wilson was co-author of a book called Unto Others.
Is he the guy?
Yeah.
That's the guy?
That's him.
Okay, great. I do know who that is. I'm only a tiny bit of the way.
And Pagels wrote a really great book called Who Wrote the Gospels that should be read by all atheists and believers, because it really, if you ask the average Christian, and I did this exactly last night in a chat room I was in, who wrote the Gospels? The average Christian will tell you Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John.
Yep.
Right.
They really have no idea where their holy book actually came from. They have no idea when it was put together. They have no idea, how it was put together and the reasons why it was put together. But
there was just a program on this on the Discovery Channel, I think it was, or something, just 2 days ago.
Was it called
Who Wrote the Bible?
Yeah, but I watched part of that program, and it presupposes an awful lot of things. It's kind of annoyed me. I noticed that it was Discovery, National Geographic or Discovery or something. They had this before Christmas. They had this special about the animals of the Nativity. This commercial.
Yeah, I almost watched that.
I cannot believe this. It's on the Learning Channel. Is what it's on. It's on the Learning Channel.
What a excuse for a program.
Yeah. The animals of the Nativity.
Wow.
And they had this solemn advertisement commercial.
Camels and sheep.
Camel, sheep, donkeys.
Rowan Atkinson's Mr. Bean. There's an episode where Mr. Bean is in a toy store playing with a nativity scene, and in his nativity scene, the nativity includes Daleks and Tyrannosaurus Rex, army men.
Everybody was there.
Did they include those? That'd be kind of cool.
No, they did not.
I spent some time in Europe, and one fun fact I learned about is in Norway, it's a tradition to give the animals extra food or porridge or something, only animals that were around at Jesus' birth to commemorate them. But then they also give, I think, a bowl of porridge to something called the barn elf. They leave out a bowl of porridge. They leave out for the barn elf. And so are they implying that there was a barn elf present at Jesus' birth? I don't know. And
was he anything like the house elf in Harry Potter?
I can't help but imagine that.
Yep.
Maybe the whole swaddling clothes thing that Jesus had was an analog of the whole, if you give a house elf a piece of clothing, you free him from his bondage from Harry Potter.
Could be. Maybe where it came from.
So that's a fun piece of trivia.
Tell us about something, Vic.
Okay, on January the 24th at 11 p.m. Eastern Time, Showtime will present the controversial new series Penn Teller Bullshit. Master showman Penn Teller promise an aggressive, irreverent expose of taboo topics using the duo's trademark humor, knowledge of carnival tricks, and con artistry, as well as hidden cameras and blatant confrontation. Each of the 13 half-hour episodes includes interviews and undercover segments intertwined with the elements of Penn Teller's non-traditional comedy routines, and there is a website where you can see a clip of this.
Ooh, it's really funny.
Yes, you will.
Yeah, we all watched this preview at the beginning of the show, and it looks great.
Oh yeah. Where is that clip at? Showtime. www.showtimeonline.com/PTBS.
Penn and Teller Bullshit.
Penn and Teller Bullshit. PTBS. Cool. So that'll be something interesting watching. The clip shows them just annihilating. What was it? Aliens.
Feng Shui.
Psychics who speak to the dead.
Yeah.
That's great. They did a good job with psychic surgery. I'd seen some bits they'd done.
Oh, really?
Oh, really?
Well, psychic surgery's been debunked for a long time, and yet
they did psychic surgery in their movie, didn't they?
Yeah, and yet
Penn and Teller get killed.
There are people.
Not like how the very beginning.
Still, there are people who will be taken in by psychic surgery, even though we know it's the little thing you clip over your thumb with the little chicken guts in it that you pull out, and all of a sudden the blood flows everywhere.
Look how many things have been debunked that people still go. Faith healing, psychics, all these things.
Well, the actual debunking will never be as popularized.
What is it? What's that guy's name that does the Talking to the Dead now, the current one?
John Edwards. And now Von Prague has a show as well.
Yeah, well, John Edwards has been debunked.
Oh, yeah.
And still.
Is that the guy who does talks to dead people?
Yeah. He got debunked on that cartoon.
On South Park, they devoted a whole episode to debunking him, and it was
hilarious.
Great. They did a very good job.
A nice job of showing exactly what he's doing.
They really did a service.
And he also did a nice job of showing how people are gullible, and even though which one was it that read his books and started doing the same thing? And
Stan, wasn't it?
Stan, I think.
Stan. Right.
Stan read the books. He went to this psychic that was house, got his books, read them, started doing the exact same thing, and telling people, this is what I'm doing. I'm fooling you here. And they wouldn't believe him. They just keep on believing that he had powers to solve
about
the dead.
just guessing names. Yeah. There are people who actually do that aren't con artists, amateurs. Like once when I was working for this delivery company once, delivering food, and I walk in, there's these two ladies, never seen me before, I've never seen them. This one girl asked me, is your name Travis? And I said, no. And then the other girl says, is your name Alfred? And I said, well, my grandfather's name was Alfie. And they all, ooh, I'm psychic. And I said, yeah, you really are. And
your grandfather's name was Alfie.
But they didn't even say Alfio. It's not the same as Alfred. So it's not even the same name.
That's about on equivalent with the Hister being Hitler.
Yeah. Hinkler, actually, yeah.
Hinkler.
Yeah. Wasn't it Hinkler?
That's Hister, because the river is Hister.
Maybe it was really Henry Winkler.
But, once when I was a kid, we played this psychic game, and you're supposed to guess what the other kid's thinking, and I got the number he was thinking 3 times in a row. I must be psychic. Not lucky, just psychic.
Do it now.
No. What number are you thinking?
No.
Okay. You're thinking of number 7.
Down now. No.
No. Okay, I'm not psychic.
Okay, well, we don't even need to prove the point.
Just thought we could do a quick impromptu test. So that's Penn Teller show is on January 24, 11 p.m. Eastern
on Showtime.
And Pacific on Showtime.
Right.
And that's www.showtimeonline.com/PTTS. Jeff, what do you got next?
More ID crap.
Oh, boy.
Officials, this is from Philadelphia. Officials at a suburban school district say new wording in its mission statement is already provoking discussion of evolution and other issues that are often in dispute. Fine by me. Phoenixville Area School District Superintendent David R. Noyes said that he doubts the new language will have a big effect on how evolution is taught in the district. But Noyes said he does expect teachers to encourage critical thinking and divergent thought and higher order thinking. Once again, fine by me. If we can promote that in our students, we will be educating them fully, he said. Here's where it gets into, The mission statement was altered at the urging of School Board Vice President David M. Langdon. He had sought a statement urging the teaching of intelligent design as an alternative to evolution. Here's what the board did instead, which I highly commend this board. The board instead added to the mission statement in November a line that says, critical thinking, along with objective and thorough investigation of data and theories in all areas of study, is necessary to ensure the success of the educational program. They didn't give him what he wanted. They gave him a statement that basically says, yeah, we think critical thinking should be taught, and we think that all theories should be investigated, but they didn't give him his intelligent design alternative to evolution.
And that's a good thing. In Pennick's book, The Tower of Babel, he brings up this point that I hadn't thought of before, that the big controversy of evolution versus creationism is not really about one theory competing over the other. They have this large fear that evolution, or the teaching of evolution, is leading to atheism.
Yeah.
That it necessarily leads to it, which you and I have no problem with.
Yeah.
But that they completely misrepresent evolution, and any controversy that if there's a debate over a particular issue in an evolution or evolutionary science, that indicates that the theory is collapsing, and even the scientists know it. There's a priesthood of science that is suppressing any talk about anything other than
conspiracy.
Even though any scientist who could definitively disprove evolution would be rich beyond his wildest dreams and famous, one of the most famous people in the world. Even though that's the case, all these scientists are together.
I mean, was Einstein rich?
Einstein was pretty well off, but one book, this guy's book, would sell like crazy.
And research money isn't much,
Right.
We're talking about bigger amounts now. Sorry.
That's okay. Backers of the intelligent design theory say it is a scientific alternative to the theory of evolution.
Which it's not.
It's not scientific at all. They say the complexity of the biological world can be explained better by intelligent cause than by Charles Darwin's theory of evolution, which they view as a mechanism of chance. Here's the problem with this. Intelligent design offers no theories about how things work.
No.
All it offers is evolution doesn't make sense.
Negative argumentation against evolution, therefore intelligent design is true.
Yeah. If not A, therefore B.
Yeah.
Since we don't understand, if we destroy evolution, since we don't understand why, then it must be God.
God.
No, space aliens.
God is a gaps argument.
or space aliens. Critics argue that...
go ahead.
I'm sorry. Critics argue that intelligent design theory is actually creationism, which the U.S. Supreme Court has prohibited from public schools as a violation of the separation of church and state, rightly so. Intelligent design supporters deny that, saying that no designer is specified.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
It's still a cosmological argument.
Yeah. It's still arguing that there is a God.
Or space aliens. And then either way, it doesn't matter. It does not belong in science curricula. We don't teach other things that are fringe assertions that are not accepted by the scientific community.
Right.
In some cases, we may be teaching kids stuff that is inaccurate and will be overturned later. That's life. That's the best we can do in education.
What we have now.
And that is what we should do.
And the important part of that is that if it's overturned, it's going to be overturned by science. Right. And that's the function. That's the way the scientific method works.
Right.
Evolution, which is what everyone seeks to overthrow with intelligent design, has stood up to peer review, critical analysis for 150 years.
Yeah,
it has changed. It's gotten more complex because more is known about how it works now. It has changed, but the basic premise of Darwin has stood up over 150 years.
And what Philip Johnson, who's a big proponent of the intelligent design, wants is to introduce theistic science.
Right.
What the hell is theistic science?
Well, I'll tell you exactly what it is. I'll tell you exactly what it is, because I was at a lecture that he gave at UT, University of Texas. And basically his argument is this, boils down to this. Materialism is an unproven philosophical assumption.
Mm-hmm.
Theism is an unproven philosophical assumption. If it's okay to use materialism as an assumption in science, it should be just as okay to use theism as a basic assumption in science. That is his whole argument.
Yeah.
Right.
And what's wrong with that, of course, is that with materialism, that philosophical assumption tells you when you can stop, right? It tells you when you've got evidence that could be indicative of something. And theism doesn't and can't.
Theism is the world is magical and anything.
Right. No matter what you see, no matter how much data you record, you cannot possibly know whether what you're seeing is the normal playing out of natural law or whether it is, being directly made to happen that way by some mysterious will of God.
Okay.
And the only way to resolve that question is you got to go talk to priests.
Yep.
That's all you're left with.
Well, there's also this misrepresentation of what Philip Johnson calls naturalism. There's this philosophical naturalism is what he thinks that the evolution is based on. It's this belief system is what he's literally calling it. But he's misrepresenting what science actually does, which is methodological naturalism, which means the methods of finding answers to things that are in nature is to use the things in nature to find those answers.
Yeah. Oh, you can have methodological theism, though. But again, what that would mean was you'd gather evidence, you'd look at it, and you'd go, huh, and then you'd shake your head and, scratch your temples, and then you'd go to some priest and say, what do you think this means? And he'd tell you.
Yeah.
That would be methodological theism in science.
ID does the same thing that creationism has always done. It makes a straw man out of evolution that it can easily knock over, which has no
bearing at all to what real evolution
evolution says. Yeah. So it's a big, and they're still going to be pushing this until they come up with some new clothing for the creationism.
But I thought about this in the context of, and I thought about this because over the last couple of weeks there have been several things that have come out. Wired came out with a big issue all about the combination of science and religion and how they're moving closer together. I thought
bullshit. They are not moving closer together. Look, anytime you find some book asserting that science and religion are moving closer together, look for the Templeton Foundation imprint. Templeton Foundation, that is one rich guy with a bunch of money funding all this crap. Yeah. He's finding a small number of fringe scientists who are willing to assert their religious beliefs and claim it's science, and he's giving them a bunch of funding. That is all that's going on.
Yeah, I agree. But with that, I mean, the articles in that are very simplistic arguments that science and religion are that science has opened up whole new. Every time we make a major scientific discovery, especially in the fields of like astronomy and physics and things like that, it opens up all these new questions, which is true. But that's the nature of discovery,
right?
And that some of these things, like for example, another good example is a guy just wrote an article for Slate, who usually writes for egghead.com. I can't remember his name. I believe it's Horn. But wrote an online article for Slate magazine that was picked up by MSNBC.com that generated a lot of talk in various atheistic circles about the title of the article was "Can Atheists Prove That God Doesn't Exist?" And his gist was atheism is a philosophical position. It should be able to defend itself, and since it can't prove that God doesn't exist, it can't really defend itself. It was a ridiculous argument, and it was easily debunked or easily shot down by various letters to the editor to that, and even the Slate editor who actually was answering these, not the guy who wrote the article, was saying, got a lot of letters saying this basic thing that you can't prove. Santa Claus doesn't exist either, but no one believes in him. Simple kids. But the overall gist of this message was he talked about the Big Bang Theory, and that the Big Bang Theory leads us to believe more in creationism, that the Big Bang was some form of creationism, and thus leads us closer to God.
Right.
But what I take heart in, and looking at the overall way religion is handling scientific advancements. It's when Wired says that religion and science are moving together. When this guy writes an article saying that the Big Bang opens up religious questions, it's not science moving toward religion that's doing this. It's religion trying to encompass science that's doing it. Mm-hmm. It's religion changing the way they view things. The Pope several years ago came out and said, "Yeah, evolution probably happens."
Right.
Okay.
Right.
100 years ago, none of this happened. It was the way the Bible says it, period. It's not that way anymore. Religion is what is trying to encompass science, and they're changing their positions to do so. I think what we're seeing is the very beginnings of a long end of religious thought
but,
in this world.
We're seeing the opposite, too. I mean, with guys like this Dr. David Sloan Wilson, using evolutionary perspective to explain what religion is and where it came from, and why it's there.
Right, but that's an examination.
That's science attempting to encompass religion. I mean, not in the sense of taking everybody wants to believe in God, so we're going to scientifically prove that there's a God, but rather. A bunch of people want to believe in God. Why do those people want to believe in God?
But that's an exploration of the idea of why people want to believe in God.
Yeah.
That's not changing the tenets of science to move closer to religion.
Right. I see.
What religion is doing is they're changing their very tenets, the very things that they held as fact, as absolutes 150, 200 years ago, no longer can they hold as absolutes. And so they have to try, in what I believe is the beginnings of a last-ditch effort, to try to make themselves valid and viable, and that the only way they can do that is to encompass science, because science is moving us forward and explaining how things work. And the more science explains, the less we need God. And religion has to change, or it will cease to be. Eventually, it'll take a long, long time. And I'm not sure if it'll ever completely cease to be, but it'll cease to be the dominating force of the
judging by those statistics from Europe, have I done that story yet? Gosh, I want to. I actually have two stories I want to do right now in response to the things we just talked about here.
Right. Well, what you were saying is, Carl Sagan wrote in The Demon Haunted World that they're trying to use the language and the credibility of science without being bound by its methods and rules.
Right.
Right. Exactly. On the subject of what you were just talking about, okay. According to a recent poll, Americans are more than twice as likely to believe that religion is important to them than people from any other Western country, according to a survey of 44 countries. The telephone poll, claiming to represent the views of 38,000 respondents in every continent, found 59% of the Americans questioned saying religion played a very important part in their lives. Only 30% of Canadians responded the same way, while most Europeans appeared indifferent to religion's importance. The response from Europe showed 11% in France, 21% in Germany, and 27% in Italy, saying that religion was very important to them. Andrew Kohut, the director of the Washington-based Pew Research Center, which carried out the poll, said, "The survey shows Americans are more religious than people in other developed countries, even those which are so culturally similar to us in so many other ways. Americans still believe they are one nation under God, whereas Europe is becoming increasingly secular." So, using that as an example, I mean, it's entirely possible for religion to decline to, marginality.
Yep.
And, boy, that would be nice.
I've heard several theories of why that is, and it's an interesting question to ask. Why do we believe in America so much more than other civilized Western, first world countries? Why?
I think it's because those other countries have so much of a history of religious
intolerance and
repression. And abuse. Yeah.
We've never had to deal with that. We really haven't, to the extreme that they have had to deal with it.
Maybe the Republicans have given us that.
Maybe so. Maybe that'll be a good thing in the long run.
Yeah,
we'll perish in the concentration camps long before it happens, but maybe in the long run.
We might have to go through some real traumatic experience to wake us up.
Yeah, I was worried. That would be necessary. I don't know. I mean, human beings can surprise you. I mean, they could act like complete idiots, complete ignorant morons one day, and then, get a hold of some actual information and go, the next day. So, you never know. But back now to the subject of evolution. You wonder, given how completely toothless creationism is, and intelligent design. Where is this big push coming from? Well, here's some of the information. Apart from the Templeton Foundation, for years, the reclusive philanthropist and evangelical Christian Howard Fieldstead Amundsen has channeled millions from his family fortune into a variety of causes designed to discredit and defeat Darwin's evolution theory that living things share common ancestors but have changed over time. Some of those millions have gone to the Seattle-based Discovery Institute, the nation's best-known, best-organized, and best-funded proponent of intelligent design. The concept that living things have been designed by some purposeful but unknown being because they are too complex to have occurred by chance. Discovery, despite criticism from some of the nation's top Darwinists, has a prominent role in this year's origins debate in Ohio. Discovery President Bruce Chapman, who founded the Institute in 1990, meets this criticism with a mixture of anger and amusement. Quote, "I think the materialists had better get some better material." Chapman founded Discovery in 1990 after serving as director of the U.S. Census Bureau and as an assistant to former President Ronald Reagan. More quote, "A lot of our foes are pretty ruthless. They'd like us to go away, but what they're reduced to is slurs against the people giving us grants." Well, dude, when you have no arguments, you have no theory of your own to offer. There is no substance there to be criticized.
Yeah.
The only thing we can criticize is that you will not frickin' shut up.
Yeah.
That's all that's left. So big surprise. They go, well, look at this guy who's giving you all this money. That's the only reason you're not quiet. Eugenie Scott, a physical anthropologist and director of the Pro-Evolution National Center for Science Education, noted wryly that Discovery recently shortened the name of its, quote, Center for the Renewal of Science and Culture to, quote, Center for Science and Culture, to make itself sound more scientific. She said the name change doesn't mask the fact that the Institute's contributions to science have been nearly nil. Scott and others say the Institute's efforts to be accepted as a serious player are also being undercut by the source of its money. Amundsen, whose family made billions in the savings and loan business, was associated at times with Christian Reconstruction, a radical faction of the religious right that sought to replace American democracy with a theocracy based on biblical law and under the dominion of Christians. For years, the Orange County multimillionaire served on the board of the Chalcedon Foundation, the movement's think tank. As a side note here, I wasn't going to read this, but you brought up Philip Johnson, Vic. Discovery Institute advisor Philip Johnson, arguably the nation's best-known anti-evolutionist, dedicated his 1997 book, Defeating Darwinism by Opening Minds, to Howard and Roberta. That's Howard Amundsen and his wife. Johnson said his relationship with the Discovery Institute is limited.
Mm-hmm. So is his
I don't direct it, and I don't take any money from them.
So is his argument.
So is his relationship to reality.
Yeah.
Discovery also received $350,000 from the Tennessee-based McClellan Foundation. Foundation officials were quoted publicly as saying the grant was to help researchers prove that, quote, evolution was not the process by which we were created. They're giving money specifically for them to prove this particular thing.
Creation science. Start with the assertion first.
Not to find out what the truth is on the question of how we came into existence, but to prove specifically that. Amundsen rarely grants interviews, and calls to him and to the McClellan Foundation executive director Tim McCauley were not returned. Chapman said, linking the Institute to the radical Christian right is a ploy, not unlike the red-baiting antics of former U.S. Senator Joseph McCarthy.
Invoking McCarthy for that.
The guy who is giving you money, millions and millions of dollars, so that you won't shut up, was on the board of a group specifically with the purpose to overthrow American democracy and institute a theocratic government.
Yep. That looks good.
And saying that he is giving you your money is like McCarthyism? No. It would be like McCarthyism if we said, mysterious, shadowy figures are giving you your money. Right?
Yeah.
That would be like McCarthyism. We know exactly where you're getting your money from, asshole.
This very reminds me of, in the civil rights movement during the 60s, the opponents of that movement, one of their most successful methods was trying to tie funding for that movement to communism.
Right.
And if they could have actually made a tie, it would have damaged the civil rights movement.
Sure.
The difference is we can make a tie with these lunatics.
Right.
And if anyone has ever looked,
there it is. I mean, if Joseph McCarthy had found that, all these guys that he was conducting his witch hunt against had actually gotten personal checks written to them by Joseph Stalin, right? They had checks from Joseph Stalin in their bank accounts. He'd have been right. He'd have been right, and he'd have been a hero.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I've heard Christians make arguments that, Darwinism leads to communism, and that Stalin was a Darwinist, and he was a communist. Therefore, Darwinism is bad because communism is bad.
Ridiculous logic.
Yeah, it's just horrible. That Hitler's whole reign of terror was due in large part to Darwinism.
No. Every time that atheists bring up things like the Inquisition and the various ways that religion has been used to murder millions of people throughout history, the Christians always shoot back with Hitler, Stalin, and Mao.
You can count on it. It's in the script.
Yeah, it's in the script, regardless of the fact that Hitler was not an atheist and that Stalin and Mao murdered people for political reasons, not religious reasons. I've never to this day ever heard anyone being murdered in the name of atheism.
Leaders adorn themselves with science-sounding slogans so they sound credible. That's just what the creationists are doing, too, at times.
Yeah. Arlo?
Yes.
You got anything you can do quick, or shall I move on?
No, go ahead and move on.
All right. We're on the downside of the show here. Just a few minutes left. I think I'll just do this one. We'll skip the funny story from the BBC. Okay, so last week we reported that Cardinal Law had stepped down, right? Well, that's a step in the right direction, but, not nearly enough. The Boston Archdiocese asked a judge Monday to dismiss the hundreds of sexual abuse lawsuits against the church on freedom of religion grounds. The Archdiocese said it made the dismissal request to satisfy its insurers that it had employed all possible legal defenses. Quote, failure to do this could very well result in the insurance companies walking away from us, saying that we have not exercised all of our avenues of defense, said Bishop Richard G. Lennon, who was named interim head of the fourth largest U.S. diocese on December 13. Now let's look at that for a second.
Yeah.
What is insurance? Insurance is money you set aside to take care of you in case something bad happens.
Or you do something horribly wrong.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, right. Now, what's God supposed to be? God's supposed to be this guy will take care of you if something really bad happens. Why are they using insurance at all? This is the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
They claim their Pope claims to be, the direct spokesman of God, the direct infallible spokesman of God. How could that possibly make any sense for them to have any insurance coverage at all?
That's a good point.
But it's more important to them to kowtow to what they claim are the demands of their insurers, right? And make this audacious and insulting request that, well, I'll go on. In court papers, the Archdiocese argued that under the First Amendment guarantee of freedom of religion, civil law does not apply to how religious organizations supervise their personnel. So because they're a religion, if crimes got committed and the higher-ups covered it up, that can't be a crime according to their interpretation of the First Amendment. Yeah. That is the most insulting, audacious, horrible thing they could possibly say. It's more important to them to preserve their unnecessary insurance coverage, considering God is supposed to be taking care of them. It's more important to them to preserve the insurance coverage than to refrain from offering this horrifying argument. The argument was filed with Superior Court Judge Constance Sweeney even as Lennon reviewed his request that all legal maneuvering in the lawsuits should be suspended so that settlement talks could be intensified. On the one hand, he's saying, let's not do any more legal maneuvers. And on the other hand, they're doing more legal maneuvers.
Right. If they lose a lot of money to these lawsuits, that puts a serious dent in their ability to even survive. The church's property and its money is its power.
Yeah.
And if they lose that, they lose their power.
They're not going to lose that even if they pay these people off. I mean, they got those smoking gold purses every bishop swings around at their services. And all that land.
It would take a lot to take
buildings,
all their money.
And they have just the whole treasury in Italy. There's this building that's just filled with donated jewels and gold and jewelry that they keep.
Amazing.
It's just...
Would it be nice if they had to sell off a lot of that property and it'd be a boon for the rest of the
No, I think it'd be nice. I think it'd be nice if they were simply declared and outlaw illegal.
Well, yeah, I did too.
All that property was taken away from them.
Yeah, I wish they'd invoke RICO on them.
It's been tried. I think. I don't think it's successful.
It's been discussed.
It's been discussed.
The move comes. Not only did they do this the same day that the interim cardinal was saying, let's just be friends. The move comes days after plaintiffs' attorneys submitted estimates of how much they want the archdiocese to pay their clients. The estimate has not been made public, and the archdiocese has until mid-January to respond. Massachusetts judges have already rejected previous arguments by the archdiocese that the church's activities are immune from judicial scrutiny, and lawyers questioned the archdiocese's chances of success this time.
Yeah. No one's going to buy that one.
Astonishing. That just goes on and on and on.
When I first read that headline, the first thing I thought was, this just entered my mind fleetingly. The first thing I thought was, are they trying to say that molesting children is part of freedom of religion?
No. They're trying to. They're willing to fire those guys and leave them hanging out to dry to be individually sued. Right? They don't have a problem with that. Right. It's their organization they're trying to protect.
Who, over the last 100 years, has systematically hid priests who have molested and hid crimes.
Mm-hmm. Well, speaking of years, the next time we do our show, it's going to be 2003. Everybody have a wonderful New Year, and
you're assuming that all the end of the world predictions for the end of 2002, which there are every year, won't come true.
Well, I haven't seen any this time, but I didn't actually check.
I'm sure there is.
Next week we'll do a special rapture report. I haven't done one in a while.
Yeah.
We'll see what ends of the world have just passed us by. Thanks everybody for listening, and we will be back again next week. Go ahead and start the music and end it.